Good morning, students. Next, our topic is coelom, also called body cavity. Coelom or body cavity. What is coelom? So, development of coelom, formation of coelom is the third key transition. First key transition is the development of tissues. Second key transition is the development of bilateral symmetry. Third key transition is the development of body cavity or coelom or perivisceral cavity. What is coelom? What is body cavity? The space which is present between the gut and body wall. The space which is present between the gut and body wall, or a fluid filled space. A fluid filled space present between the gut and body wall is called coelom. It is called a coelom or body cavity. Okay, now here this is the body wall. And this one is gut. Between the gut and body wall, there is a space. This space, the cavity which is present inside of our body, between the gut and body wall, alimentary canal and body wall, it is called a body cavity or coelom. True body cavity or coelom. In some, true body cavity is not present. So based on the presence and absence of coelom, the animals are of three types, like Acoelomates, Pseudocoelomates, Eucoelomates. Let us see first acoelom. Acoelom. What is acoelom? A means absence, coelom means body cavity. Absence of body cavity. Absence of body cavity. Absence of body cavity is called acoelom. This one is acoelom. Absence of body cavity. Here between the gut and body wall, this one is body wall, outer ectoderm that gives rise into body wall, inner endoderm that gives rise into outer lining of gut. This is lumen of gut, outer lining of gut. Between the gut and body wall, there is no space. Here body wall, this one is body wall and this one is gut. Between the gut and body wall there is no space, there is no free space. So absence of cavity or absence of coelom. So those are called acoelomates. Absence of body cavity. This body cavity, it is filled with a tissue. Actually cavity is present between the gut and body wall, but this cavity is filled with a tissue which is called mesenchyme. Mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Okay, mesenchymal tissues or parenchymal tissues that fill the body cavity space. This space is filled with a cavity. This cavity is filled with a tissue which is called mesenchyme or parenchymal tissue. Visual organ. This is cross section. Visual organs are present. For example, alimentary canal. Surrounding the alimentary canal, there is no space. Surrounding the alimentary canal, there is no space. So alimentary canal, it is tightly packed. It is tightly packed in the tissue. That's why there is no free movement of alimentary canal. There is no free movement of gut. This is disadvantage to acoelomates. In the acoelomates, visual organs are not freely suspended. These are not freely suspended. Those are tightly packed. For example, if one organ is present here, this organ is tightly packed with tissue only. It cannot move freely. This organ cannot move freely. This is one disadvantage in the acoelomates. Acoelom, absence of body cavity. Between the gut and body wall, there is no space. This space is filled with a tissue called mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Here, acoelomates example, platyhelminthes, which are triploblastic animals. Platyhelminthes. The first triploblastic animals, three primary germ layers. Outer layer is called ectoderm. Ectoderm gives rise into the epidermis or that gives rise into body wall. Endoderm that gives rise into the lining of the gut. Ectoderm gives rise into the body wall. Endoderm gives rise into lining of gut. Here mesoderm is also present. Three primary germ layers, triploblastic, mesoderm. So this mesoderm that gives rise into a tissue which is called parenchymal tissue or mesenchymal tissue. This mesoderm that gives rise into a tissue which is called mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Okay, na? Ectoderm gives rise into the body wall, endoderm that gives rise into lining of gut, mesoderm that gives rise into a tissue called parenchymal tissue which covers the total cavity. So mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue is formed from the mesoderm. Example, platyhelminthes, acoelomates, and acoelomates, they are having disadvantage. What is disadvantage? That visceral organs cannot move freely, and it is called solid body plan. Solid body plan. The body plan is solid. Solid means totally it is filled with cell. Cavity is totally filled with a tissue. Mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Totally it is filled with mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Solid body plan. Again, it exhibits the solid body plan. Acoelom. Absence of body cavity. First one. Examples are important. Platyhelminthes, which are triploblastic and exhibit bilateral symmetry, and they have the sac-like gut, not complete gut. Platyhelminthes are having the sac-like gut. First time organs and organ systems are developed. Organs and organ systems are developed in the platyhelminthes. First triploblastic. Mesoderm is first time developed. Okay, first triploblastic animals, but acoelomates. Absence of body cavity. Second one, pseudocoelom. Second one, pseudocoelom. Pseudocoelom absence. Pseudocoelom means here a cavity is present. A cavity is present between the gut and body wall. Outer layer is called body wall. Then inner it is called gut. Outer ectoderm gives rise into body wall. Endoderm that gives rise into lining of gut. Between the gut and body wall there is a space, but this space is not continuous. Okay, space is present, cavity is present at some places only. Again, scattered means at some places only cavities are present. At some places only cavities are present, and remaining part it is filled with a tissue called parenchymal tissue or mesenchymal tissue. At some places only cavity. This is cavity. This cavity is body cavity, but it is not continuous. It is not continuous between the gut and body wall. At some places only cavities are present. In other places it is filled with a tissue called mesenchymal tissue and parenchymal tissue, and these cavities are not formed from the mesoderm. Okay, ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, outer ectoderm, then inner endoderm. Ectoderm gives rise into body wall. Endoderm that gives rise into lining of gut. Mesoderm that gives rise into mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue, and it leaves some spaces. This mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue that leaves some spaces, these spaces are called body cavities. These are called body cavities, and it is not a true body cavity. It is not a true body cavity because it is not lined with any layers. Peritoneal layers are present in the true body cavity. Peritoneal layers which are forming from mesoderm, that peritoneal layers are absent. Okay, and it is not forming from mesoderm. These cavities are not forming from mesoderm. Mesoderm that gives rise into mesenchymal tissue, but not the body cavity. So it is like body cavity, but not a true body cavity. It is like a body cavity, but it is not a true body cavity. So it is called false body cavity or pseudocoelom. Pseudo means false. Coelom, body cavity. False body cavity. It is called false body cavity. Example for the pseudocoelom, nematodes or Acoelomate or Nemathelminthes. Nematodes, roundworms. So roundworms, they are having the pseudocoelom, false body cavity. Even it is pseudocoelom, it also exhibits the functions same like eucoelom. Pseudocoelom is also filled with a fluid. It is filled with a fluid called pseudocoelomic fluid. Pseudocoelomic fluid. It is filled with a fluid called pseudocoelomic fluid. Pseudocoelom, it is filled with a fluid called pseudocoelomic fluid. Pseudocoelomic fluid. It acts as skeleton, hydrostatic skeleton, and it helps to serve that transportation of the materials, transferring of materials. Pseudocoelomic fluid is present. Second type, example nematoda. Acoelom, example platyhelminthes. Acoelom, example platyhelminthes. Acoelom, absence of body cavity, and this cavity is filled with the tissue, or between the gut and body wall there is a tissue which is called mesenchymal tissue or parenchymal tissue. Then between the gut and body wall here cavities are present, but they are not continuous, and they are present at some places only, scattered some places only. Remaining place it is filled with mesenchyme or parenchymal tissue. Mesenchyme or parenchymal tissue. Next, eucoelom, true body cavity. Eucoelom or true body cavity. Third one. Third one, eucoelom. Or true body cavity. In the eucoelom, eucoelomates starting from Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, Chordata, up to Chordata. Up to chordates are eucoelomates. Eucoelom means true body cavity. It is called true body cavity. True body cavity. Why it is called true body cavity? Here these are triploblastic, and annelids are the triploblastic animals. 3 primary gem layers. Outer layer is called ectoderm. Outer layer is called ectoderm. Then inner layer is called endoderm. Outer ectoderm, inner endoderm. Middle layer is called mesoderm. Middle one is called mesoderm. Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. Okay na? Ectoderm that gives rise into body wall. Ectoderm gives rise into body wall, outer body wall. This is body wall. Ectoderm that gives rise into body wall. Then endoderm that gives rise into the lining of the gut. Endoderm gives rise into lining of gut. Then between the ectoderm and endoderm there is one more layer which is called mesoderm. There is one more layer called mesoderm. This is mesoderm. So during the development, mesoderm split. Again, mesoderm split to form the two layers. Mesoderm, this mesoderm splitting, by the splitting of mesoderm, two layers are formed. By the splitting of mesoderm, two layers are formed. So outer layer and inner layer. This is called outer layer. Again, this is called outer layer. Outer layer is called parietal layer. Outer layer is called parietal layer. Then inner layer is called visceral layer. Inner layer is called visceral layer. Outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. Again, outer parietal layer is also called a somatic layer. Somatic layer. And inner visceral layer is also called a splanchnic layer. Splanchnic layer. Outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. Okay. So during the development, this outer parietal layer that moves and that cover the inner lining of inner lining of body wall. This parietal layer, it is moving towards the body wall. Parietal layer is moving towards the body wall. So it moves towards the body wall and it attaches to the inner lining of body wall. Okay, it attaches to the inner line. This is body wall. So inner lining of body wall, it is covered with a layer which is called outer parietal layer. It is parietal layer. This parietal layer that moves towards the body wall. It moves towards the body wall and attaches to the inner lining of body wall. It attaches to the inner lining of body wall. Outer parietal layer. Then one more layer is present. So this is parietal layer. Now it is called parietal layer or somatic layer. Inner visceral layer. Inner visceral layer, it moves towards the gut. It moves towards the gut that covers the outer lining of gut. Inner visceral layer that moves towards the gut and that covers the outer lining of gut. It covers the outer lining of gut. Okay na? Inner lining of body wall is covered by parietal layer. Outer lining of gut is covered by visceral layer. Actually, these two layers are formed from which layer? These two layers are formed from mesoderm. Right? Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. Ectoderm, that forms the body wall. Ectoderm forms the body wall. Endoderm, that forms the lining of gut. Mesoderm, middle mesoderm, split into two layers. Outer layer is parietal layer or somatic layer. Inner layer is called visceral layer or splanchnic layer. So outer parietal layer that moves towards the body wall and settles beneath the body wall. It settles beneath the body wall. Then inner visceral layer that moves towards the gut, that settles outer surface of the gut. That settles outer surface of the gut. So between the gut and body wall, or here means it means clearly between the outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer there is a space. The space which is present between the parietal layer and visceral layer is called body cavity, and it is a true body cavity or eucoelom. It is a true body cavity or eucoelom. Right? What is eucoelom? Pseudocoelom. Pseudocoelom, false body cavity. Why it is false body cavity? Mesoderm will not give rise into these two layers. Mesoderm gives rise into mesenchymal tissue. Mesoderm gives rise into mesenchymal tissue. At some places only open cavities are present. Other places mesenchymal tissue is present. That's why it is not a true body cavity. It's a false body cavity. Pseudocoelom present in the nematoda. But in the eucoelomates, true body cavity. Actually, true body cavity is forming from which layer? From mesoderm. Acoelomates, mesoderm gives rise into the parenchymal tissue. Pseudocoelomates, mesenchymal tissue produced by the mesoderm. At some places only cavities are present, not a true body cavity. But in the eucoelomates, mesoderm gives rise into two layers that line the cavity. Okay, this cavity is lined by two layers. What are they? Outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. So between these two there is a space which is called body cavity, true body cavity. It is called true body cavity, which is filled with a fluid called coelomic fluid. In some it is filled with a fluid called coelomic fluid. For example, annelids, earthworm, it is filled with coelomic fluid. Coelomic fluid that acts as hydrostatic skeleton. Coelomic fluid in the earthworm, it acts as hydrostatic skeleton, liquid skeleton. So provide stiffness to the body organs, body parts. Provide the stiffness to the body parts. Here inner visceral layer, it is covered. It is covering the outer lining of the gut. Then parietal layer that covers the inner lining of body wall. Okay, parietal layer that covers the inner lining of body wall. Then visceral layer that covers the outer lining of the gut. Between the parietal layer and visceral layer only there is a space. Here in this space only visceral organs are freely suspended. For example, heart is present, heart is freely suspended. Okay, then visceral organs like alimentary canal is present, freely suspended in the cavity. Then other organs, kidneys are present, freely suspended in this cavity. So these organs are either covered with the parietal layer or covered with the visceral layer. Either covered with the parietal layer or covered with the visceral layer. And some organs are present, some organs like kidneys. So kidneys are attached to the body wall. Okay, back side to the body wall. So attaches to the dorsal body wall. Kidneys are attached to dorsal body wall. This is outer parietal layer. This outer parietal layer that covers the inner lining of body wall. So to the inner lining of body wall only kidneys are attached. Okay, so outer parietal layer that covers the only one surface of the kidneys only, not both the sides, only one surface of the kidneys. Okay, only one surface of the kidneys. Which side they are covered? They are covered only at ventral side, not at dorsal side. So dorsal side, ventral side. Parietal layer or somatic layer that covers the kidneys only at ventral side, not at the dorsal side. So this type of position is called retroperitoneal position. Retroperitoneal position, and these organs are called retroperitoneal organs. Kidneys are the retroperitoneal organs. They are covered with, the kidneys are covered with the parietal layer only at ventral side but not at dorsal side. For example, heart is present, total heart is present in this cavity only. It is total, it is covered with layer. Alimentary canal is also covered with the layer. Okay, that is visceral layer. But kidneys are covered with the layer only at one side, not both the sides, not totally covering. Only at one side only this visceral, this parietal layer, outer parietal layer cover the kidneys. So kidneys are the retroperitoneal organs, and this position is called retroperitoneal position. Again, retroperitoneal organs means the organs which are covering with the parietal layer only at ventral side. Only at ventral side are called retroperitoneal organs. Example, kidneys. Then visceral organs are connected with the body wall. Visceral organs are connected with the body wall with the help of some septa, which are called mesenteries. Mesentery, it is a tissue which connect the visceral organs with the body wall. For example, alimentary canal is connected with the body wall with the help of this mesentery. Then body cavity divides into compartments. Mesentery that divide the body cavity into compartments. Here two compartments are there. Okay, body cavity divides into compartments by the mesenteries. Right, it is true body cavity. True body cavity or eucoelom, it starts from the annelida up to the chordata. Annelida, arthropoda, mollusca, echinodermata, hemichordata, chordata are having the true body cavity or eucoelom. Eucoelom, the cavity which is present between the gut and body wall, formed by the splitting of mesoderm. So due to the splitting of mesoderm, two layers are formed, outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. Parietal layer that covers the inner lining of body wall, visceral layer that covers the outer lining of gut. Between these two there is a space. This space is called true body cavity or eucoelom. Retroperitoneal organs. The kidneys are covered with the parietal layer only at ventral side, not at dorsal side. This position is called retroperitoneal position. Right? This is the cavity. This is the cavity. Body wall, gut, and this one is cavity. True body cavity. Eucoelom. Then again, eucoelomates are of two types. Eucoelom based on the formation. So eucoelom is of two types called schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Eucoelom, it is of two types called schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Schizocoelom, it is seen in the annelida, arthropoda, and mollusca. Annelida, arthropoda, and mollusca. Schizocoelom. Enterocoelom, echinodermata, hemichordata. Echinodermata, hemichordata, and chordates. Chordates means fishes, amphibians, reptiles, sails, mammals. Again, fishes to mammals, all are chordates. So echinodermata, hemichordata, chordates are enterocoelomates. Schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Again, schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Schizocoelom, what is the meaning of schizocoelom? The coelom which is formed by the splitting of mesoderm. The coelom which is formed by the splitting of mesoderm. But here, this mesoderm that produced from the 4D blastomere cells. Okay, formed from 4D blastomere cells. 4D blastomere cells, a type of cells which are present in the in this layer. This 4D blastomere cells that evaginates and that form the middle mesoderm. So by the splitting of this mesoderm, body cavity is formed, which is called schizocoelom. Okay, schizocoelom, it is formed by the splitting of mesoderm. The mesoderm is forming from 4D blastomere cells. Example, annelida, arthropoda, mollusca. Next, enterocoelom. So enterocoelom, it is formed by pouches of archenteron. Pouches of archenteron. In the embryonic development, this is the gastrula stage. Embryonic development, this one is gastrula stage. Okay, in the gastrula stage, there is a cavity. Here, this cavity is called archenteron. Archenteron. This cavity is leaving, it is opening outside through one pore which is called blastopore. This pore is called blastopore. Gastrula stage. In this gastrula stage, Archenteron. From Archenteron some pouches are formed. This is Archenteron. Archenteron, it is a cavity present inside the gastrula stage. From the Archenteron, few cells are detaches that enters into middle between the ectoderm and endoderm. That forms some pouches, mesodermal pouches. It forms the mesodermal pouches. So, by the fusion of all these pouches, two layers are formed. Okay, two layers. Outer layer is parietal layer, inner layer, visceral layer. Outer parietal layer, inner visceral layer, formed by the pouches of Archenteron. From the pouches of Archenteron. So Archenteron that produce a mesoderm in the form of pouches. These pouches are fused to form a cavity between the gut and body wall. So it is called enterocoelom. Schizocoelom, the coelom which is formed by the splitting of mesoderm, which is formed from the 4D blastomere cells. Example, Annelida, Arthropoda, mollusca. Right? The coelom which is formed by the splitting of mesoderm, and that mesoderm is formed from 4D blastomere cells. Enterocoelom, the coelom which is formed from the pouches of Archenteron. Few cells are detached from the Archenteron that forms a middle mesoderm by middle mesoderm pouches. These pouches are fused with each other that forms into a cavity. So this cavity is called a true body cavity or enterocoelom. Example, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. Here one more, Schizocoelomates. All Schizocoelomates are protostomes, protostomians. All Schizocoelomates are protostomians. And enterocoelomates are deuterostomes, protostomes and deuterostomes. Okay, now based on the fate of blastopore. Here already we discussed blastopore. What is blastopore? It is a cavity. It is the opening of Archenteron in the gastrula stage. Blastopore. If this blastopore develops into mouth, okay, blastopore develops into the mouth. Those are called protostomians. Later, opposite end anus is formed. That means in the protostomians, first mouth is formed, then secondarily anus is formed. Mouth is forming from blastopore. Then anus is forming in the opposite end, called protostomians. All Schizocoelomates are the protostomians. Annelida, Arthropoda, molluscans are protostomians. Okay, na? What is the meaning of protostomia? The blastopore develops into mouth and opposite end anus is formed secondarily. Primary, secondary. Primary pore mouth, secondary pore anus. Next, enterocoelom. Right. Next, deuterostomians. Proto means first, stoma means mouth. Mouth is firstly formed from the blastopore. So, protostomia. Deuterostomia, deuteron secondarily. Stoma means mouth. Mouth is forming secondarily. Okay, mouth is forming secondarily. So, this is blastopore. Here, this blastopore gives rise into the mouth. And anus is formed later. Protostomians. In deuterostomians, blastopore develops into anus first. Opposite end mouth is formed. Mouth is formed at opposite end. Okay, now deuterostomia. Deuteron secondarily. Stoma means mouth. Mouth is formed secondarily. That means primarily anus is formed. From which part? From the blastopore. If blastopore develops into mouth, called protostomia. If blastopore develops into anus, called deuterostomians. In the protostomians, secondarily anus is formed. In the deuterostomians, secondarily mouth is formed. Mouth is formed secondarily in the deuterostomians. So example for the deuterostomians, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. Okay, Schizocoelomates are protostomians. Enterocoelomates are deuterostomians. Example for Pseudocoelomates and Protostomes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca. Example for the Enterocoelomate, Deuterostomes, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. Right, this is coelom, body cavity, the cavity which is present between the gut and body wall. Okay na? Thank you.